Welcome back to the Wild Ones podcast, a show where we chat about bike stuff. I am Jimmy, and today I am joined by producer Emily.
Hello.
And Francis CADE.
Hey.
And thanks to Garmin for supporting this podcast and helping us to bring you shows like this for free.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
Have you had a coffee again?
Yes.
Did you?
I did. But do you know why?
Didn't we learn our lessons last time, Emily?
But I had to wait around for an hour when I got here, Francis.
Whose fault was that?
Whose fault was that? Indeed, it wasn't mine. Usually we get in, we start straight away, but I hung around in the coffee shop for an hour. And what do you do in the coffee shop other than buy coffee? Why did I hang around for an hour? Well, let's explain. It's our first fluff up of the week.
First of many.
Courtesy of Jimmy, whose instructions were, go and pack that camera stuff away into a box. So I, as a very obedient worker, I went and packed the camera stuff away into the box along with every battery we own.
You can attempt to blame me if you want, which is fine. I personally think it is inevitable that something would go wrong in moving a studio.
Yes.
And which I guess is the point that we haven't actually mentioned yet. So we are in the depths of studio move. The room we are currently sitting in is the normal studio and it's currently very empty, apart from some very carefully placed items to make it look like it isn't very empty.
This one's pretty convincing, I got to say.
Behind you looks
Basically
good.
unchanged. It looks cleaner and better.
But ultimately, yeah, we're deep into the studio move. Hopefully the next podcast will come from the new studio, but depends how well the rest of this week goes. And as part of that, we did a huge load of it moved across yesterday and started packing things up. And I like the podcast is its own thing. It has its own cameras. It has its own cables. It has its own memory cards. It doesn't technically have its own batteries. Well, it does, but they all get charged together. And yeah, when we packed that up, we just slung it all in and didn't think.
We, collectively.
Well, you packed it up, but it was
It was my fault. And then I went...
It wasn't. It was the byproduct of...
moving.
Exactly.
Yeah. We were saved by Mark Brummicombe.
Oh yeah, massive shout out to Mark, who is the manager of Wex in Newcastle, and as a result of him saving us, this is obviously not paid for, but he did save our asses. If you need camera stuff, consider Wex because it keeps people like Mark in a job, and they absolutely saved our lives.
I did pay him.
Did you?
We're in a chocolate bar.
Oh right.
Yeah, which actually wasn't mine. I found it. I don't know whose it was. So someone's paid for it, yeah.
So we're borrowing batteries off him essentially, aren't we?
So actually, I phoned Wex this morning and I was just like, can we buy 3 batteries? And he said, we've got 2. And I was just like, can we borrow one? He was like, what's going on? And I explained the situation. He was like, you just borrow the 3. To be fair, we do spend a lot of money with them over the years and probably will going into the future. So he is looking after probably his number one customer.
Before he looked at our account and was like, well, okay, they can borrow batteries.
So yeah, they've loaned us 3 batteries for our 3 cameras, which we will take back later.
Yay.
So thank you, Mark and Wex, for helping us get through this podcast.
I got a funny email this morning.
Did you?
Yeah. I want to say yes to it, but I don't think it would be a good idea for the company. Maybe.
What is it?
So it was we get emails from bike brands and companies that make bike stuff. This one was particularly exciting. Mm-hmm. The bottle, an electric. Well, I'll read it. I'm from Mad Space, reaching out with an exciting opportunity to test and showcase a next generation cycling companion. The bottle, electric cycling water bottle. I think that's the full name. Bottle, electric cycling water bottle, engineered from performance, comfort, and sustainability on every ride.
Wow.
Sustainability? Sorry.
Yeah, sustain yourself through hydration.
So not sustainability for the planet, sustainability for the rider.
This isn't just another bike bottle, purpose-built for cyclists. It redefines hydration on the move. With one-touch water dispensing and smart insulation, it tackles all the usual pain points. No more squeezing. You know that classic pain point. It's the sore hand that you get as you squeeze the water into your mouth or wherever else you put it.
You actually do a bottle squeeze, don't you? I don't do a bottle squeeze. You're a squeezer, aren't you?
What are you, a sucker?
I'm a like upside down bottle in the air. There's probably a little bit of a squeeze.
Oh, like a little sippy, like a hamster would have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas you're like a normal way around bottle squeeze, aren't you? Because I've got a visual memory of you with 2 hands on a bottle going.
Well, if you leave it as late as I do to try and save my hydration.
Unscrew
It's
the
pretty
lid and
loose.
just
Yeah, it's
pour it in.
one bottle in one go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Instead of little and often, which is what you should do. I heard.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No more squeezing, leaking, or warm water on long rides. It's hygienic, durable, and keeps your focus exactly where it should be on the road. And then there's some good pictures of it being used. And it looks like it can dispense from not upside down.
It's like a water
fountain. It just shoots
fountain.
out into the guy's mouth.
It's like a water fountain. You press the button and it comes out.
Yeah. Portable water fountain.
It feels like it doesn't need to exist.
That's most things that come out in cycling.
That is true.
So, typically what happens with products like this is the only actual use case is a smaller number of people that perhaps need a niche product. An example being extra buttons on shifters perhaps allows people to shift that have mobility issues. There was another one where
anything that's a barrier
pump.
to entry. Yeah.
Electric pump was a good one because we had some electric pumps probably 2 years ago, and it's a product where you go, what's the point in it? It's absolutely outrageous, and they're all over social media at the minute. But there will be some people which don't have the dexterity, or maybe they have arthritis, or whatever it is that means that actually pumping a tire up on the side of the road is hard, and therefore an electric pump might actually help them continue riding bikes. And this is probably a case of this. This probably does help a couple of people, but you definitely don't need it, do you?
Fine, yes, I accept that as an argument, but as a normal use case. Again, I'm just against anything that requires more charging cables and that kind of stuff. It seems unnecessary. If the problem it's trying to solve is not having to like make lip contact with a thing that potentially gets dirty, especially if you're off-road, just get one that has a cap on top, or just squeeze it into your mouth.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can just do a little suck and it's fine.
It's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, banned. You're not allowed one.
Oh,
This is actually a really good example of something that we go, it would be cool to have because it would be funny and silly, but the only thing we can do is bash this product, and therefore it's just not fair.
I think you do the opposite of bashing it, and that is very fair. And I feel bad for laughing at it because that's 100% true. And there's loads of products out there that people will be like, well, what the hell is that for? Like SRAM blips, things like that. And it's like, well, there are people that have one arm or can't squeeze a bottle and things like that. And there probably is a use case.
Or maybe you have neck mobility issues.
Totally.
Or there will be some people that actually this works really well for, but 99.9% of people, it's a waste of money.
Also true. All right, on to some news. First up, Shimano has released a Di2 compatible automatic shifting system called Q Auto.
Is that what it's called? I thought it was called Quarto.
It sounds a bit like a car, doesn't it? Audi's
Like a
new
Quattro.
Quarto. Oh, Quattro. That's why I'm thinking Quattro, yeah.
Oh, Kwiatkowski's nickname. What do they call him? Quieto. I haven't watched pro cycling in a while.
Oh, pass. I don't know. I'm not getting into the pronunciation.
You see it
game.
written, it's a bit like that.
What isn't that the name of the character in Total Recall? Open your mind.
Well, it's been a while.
Quato. I think that's Quato.
I watched the remake of that.
I watched that recently as well.
It's actually, it's awful but good.
It is nowhere near as bad as the first time I watched it which was close to when it came out. And I remember it being
It's probably the same film.
terrible. No, yeah, it is the same film.
Yeah.
But
So
my perspective has changed on it. Yeah. It was all right.
I feel like I'm having deja vu. Have we talked about this?
Totally.
Probably. I do like referencing
It feels
Total
new to
Recall.
us, Emily, so it's fine.
Tell me more about this automatic shifting system, please.
One by only. It's designed for gravel bikes as well as hybrids. It's made up of 3 components. Q's dynamo-powered free hub, compatible with 10 or 11-speed cassettes, a Di2 compatible Q's rear derailleur, and a wireless Swift switch. It's hard to say.
Shift switch.
It's self-charging, which you've been wanting for so long.
Oh,
haven't
yes.
you? One plug. Well, no plug.
Well,
Just
either...
a bike. The Di2 should draw from your
Agreed.
body's power.
Yeah.
It uses machine learning to analyze your riding style and choose the best gear, and has a library of over 6,500 potential gearing patterns.
That math doesn't seem to add up, does it? Like how? How could it be that many? Up or down?
Well, it will know your cadence. It will know, like, if you like riding in a harder gear, it will be loads of, like, real marginal changes to how it
I believe
knows
it
when to
does
shift.
have a gradient sensor in it as well, which is quite rare. Like, usually these kind of things are just like speed and...
So there you go. Some people will like fast cadence on the flats, slower cadence on climbs. That's what they'll settle into, and then it will learn from that, and it will go change gear.
Oh, yeah, I'm not disputing that, but just 6,500 potential gearing patterns seems bonkers.
Mm-hmm. And then someone who can't press buttons can just ride this. Mm-hmm. There's a use case.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's lots of use cases for this. I guess it's lowering a barrier to entry, isn't it? Even in terms of just the when you first start to ride.
It's like going from a manual car to an automatic car.
Yes, which I actually
like a
did
Tesla
recently.
just goes. Woo.
I'll be honest, I always look down upon people who drove automatics because I was like, there's nothing wrong with manual. You've got loads more control. That's how we get brought up in this country. Learn to drive a manual. And then I got an automatic, and it's like doing mental maths in your head all of the time. And then someone gives you a calculator, and all of a sudden you go, oh, this is so much easier. And I will never go back to driving a manual car again.
I had to drive one yesterday for the first time in, 5 months, 6 months?
And it was also a giant truck filled to the brimming.
It was... I do like gears, but it's the kind... Like, automatic is class. I'm quite interested about this. It's one of those things that if you're a very serious bike rider, you're not going to care about this. But there are actually scenarios where I think it will potentially help people get into cycling and enjoy cycling more.
Well, most people that ride bikes are not serious bike riders, and anything that gets more people into it gets my vote.
Yes,
I know it's going to be probably expensive to start with, but again, like
one day
10 years it won't be.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, everyone just rides around these cool bikes that you don't have to service and maintain and hopefully just work forever, and you just get on it and start pedaling.
Does it mean you don't have to service and maintain them? Because surely if you're adding more tech to what is otherwise quite a basic object, the more stuff you add to it, the more complex you make it, the more it needs to be.
I just mean the type of bike that it would end up on.
Right,
like
I
it would
see
be
what you're
something
saying.
with like a line bike with Schwalbe marathons and that doesn't get punches and that is kind of internal and covered up, and
Someone maintains them,
someone does.
apparently.
It's a tough job.
Allegedly.
Oh,
I think the case argument for electric gears from a maintenance perspective is it can effectively get to a point where you no longer have to index it, adjust the gearing. And I don't think we are there yet on a lot of stuff. But we are getting to a point where if it's electric and it is clever and it knows what's going on rather than just being mechanical and controlled by a cable, then in theory, you can put it on, it can set itself up and always change. So that's where I think there's an argument for actually electric gears one day in the future when the price comes down, when the technology gets there. Actually, you attach a mech to a bike and it just works forever until it's worn out. And actually, you only need to change it when it's worn out.
of course it will happen. Have you not played Cyberpunk? In the future, and it's obviously just a prediction of real life, in the future, tech is really cheap, but like a banana is really, really expensive.
Yep.
And there's no birds.
Yep. So going back to that, my example, not Francis's one, is we went for a ride on Sunday and you were probably umming and ahhing about whether you wanted to do it because you knew your gears were knackered.
They just needed indexing, didn't they?
Yeah. And I did it because I'm a lovely person.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I would have just.
And I was just like, oh yeah, your gears are sorted. And you're like, oh sick, yeah, let's go for a ride then.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It brings down a barrier in that sense, doesn't it? Am I right in saying we're talking about all the benefits of this? You don't necessarily see the applications for yourself. You're not frothing at the mouth to get this on all of your bikes.
No, absolutely not.
I don't froth about much bike tech, to be honest.
No.
That water bottle, though.
Yeah. But you're saying you see the application for it. At
Yeah,
least.
totally. Yeah. Much like I now drive an automatic car and love it. Maybe there'll come a point where I'll be like, I can't be bothered changing gear on a bike. Do it for me.
You'll be forced into it, Jimmy. There won't be any manual gear changing anymore. That's it.
Maybe.
I imagine that most, if you want to use the word serious or enthusiastic, whatever, if you've been riding bikes for a lot of years, you're going to assume that you will make fine gear changes on your own, usually without even thinking about it. So you wouldn't necessarily really need something to choose gears for you.
Yeah, and I just think you wouldn't. You would always want to control it yourself.
Yeah.
Your car analogy is a really, really good one. Like if you have a car that you take out on the weekends, or if you enjoy driving, you're going to want to have that choice in like, actually, do you know what? I'm gonna drop the box because I want to hear it whir under this bridge.
I do like doing that.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas you're probably going to choose to have manual gear choice for as long as it possibly exists, which is probably all of our lifetimes. But there are people which go, well, yeah, but that's just one thing. Like your analogy of like having to calculate. It's the same. It's essentially the same thing. Some people won't want that. They just want to be able to turn the pedals over, and whether it's hilly or not hilly, it just works.
It depends what your motivation is for riding the bike.
So I'm currently going to be building some kind of commutery bike out of stuff that I already have. And when I saw this, I'm like, would this actually be a good solution for me? And still, I don't want it because my commute is hilly, and I know I'm going to want to choose what gears I'm using for those hills, especially because sometimes I'll be tired, sometimes I won't be tired. If it was pan flat, I would probably consider this as an option just so I can not think about changing gears, and it just works for me.
It's interesting because this is essentially Shimano expanding the application of existing tech for them. So they offered automatic shifting in high spec e-bikes that they do. I think they promoted it for e-mountain bike riders.
I've ridden one.
Yeah.
In Paris. Very weird. But yes, I did. I went to like a Shimano event like 8 years ago.
Right.
And it was, did it for you.
And how did it feel?
Can't remember.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Cool
I remember
story.
one of the people on the event crashed, and that was the highlight. And that's the memory I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's correlation doesn't equal causation there.
No. There was their lack of skill.
Right,
Yeah.
understood.
It was raining.
That idea of Shimano expanding the application of existing tech made me think about the fact that they have just released their XTR Di2, which is the mountain bike.
Rear mech.
Yeah, and it's now fully wireless.
Yeah, and it's got like the kick thing, which SRAM have been doing for a while. Basically, it's like, it seems to be pretty much indestructible.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder whether we are going to see soon that tech being brought into gravel and road, because Di2 has less cables than it used to have, but there are still some cables. Is that correct? There's cables somewhere.
So currently, the non-mountain bike stuff, your mech has to link to a battery still. So if you have two mechs, you've got two cables, one battery. If you've got one mech, you have one battery, one cable, I think.
Well, the Campag's fully wireless now. And the way they got around the patent was having different batteries on the rear mech to the front mech. So SRAM have somehow patented, which is kind of a move, the same battery on front and rear mechs.
Or genius move.
Well, business-wise, yeah,
yeah.
I guess.
That's
Making
wild.
it annoying for everyone
Like,
else.
Yeah.
That'll eventually change. It has to.
Yeah. Well, it always does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess from a consumer's perspective, do I really give a shit whether I have a cable inside my bike or not? That isn't my business. That is the business of my mechanic.
Correct. The answer to that is no. And I think people get too bogged down about stuff like that because at the end of the day, most people aren't working on their own bikes. And who cares if it's got cables in it or not, if you're not doing the work on it? What I am excited about this new XTR Di2 is it's likely, or hopefully, that technology is about to start dropping on the other SRAM stuff, where they're going to start updating their gravel and their road things. The Shimano stuff. And it's less about wires and more about cross-compatibility. So SRAM have been this is why I was thinking of SRAM. SRAM have absolutely been dominating over the last couple of years in the gravel space because they can run mullet group sets. All of their products are cross-compatible. You can
use it with the road shifters.
Which?
Shimano road shifters work with the XTR.
The new XTR.
Yeah.
As in the stuff that's just released. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is my point.
Oh.
This is literally the point I'm making. So SRAM have been absolutely bashing the gravel space to pieces because you can put literally massive mountain bike rear mechs with drop bar shifters. And now what I'm hoping, we can do it with this, and what we're going to see over time is the ability for Shimano compatibility to massively open up. You can start using speccing ratios and things that you want, however you want to do it, which was one of the limiting factors before. So I think this is really, really good for us as cyclists. I don't care whether I'm not saying it's good for Shimano. I mean, it's good for us because there's going to be competition. You're going to be able to say, I want bonkers gear ratios on my bike. historically, your only option was SRAM, whereas now, or full mountain bike, whereas now you're going to be able to go, well, I've got options. So
official options. Yeah. Not just like botched
some weird
options.
botch thing with some special mech hanger adaptation and stuff
Which
like that.
is cool, and I love it when people experiment with that kind of stuff, but a lot of the time it's not accessible for a lot of people.
I'm pretty certain, because it feels like Shimano have been holding off for ages on this. And I think we are about to see loads of new Shimano tech dropping, which is going to be a really big step forward in their product offering, because it hasn't really changed in quite some time now. The problem with that is what they have demonstrated to us, especially via cues, is they're going to launch something and no one's going to be able to get it for about 2 years.
We've got it.
Well,
You got cues, you mean?
sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
We've been supplied a bike that is embargoed, and it is the only way we've been able to actually see cues in the flesh on a bike.
So you're going to be able to ride it, and presumably, are you going to make a separate video about the cues as well as about the embargoed bike? Or
I would like us to, but I don't. We're about to enter Tour de France mode, which I think we'll touch later on, and I don't think we're going to be able to, but we'll see. I think what is about to happen is if cues exists on a bike, which we have, the stock of cues is about to start coming through, I think.
Mm-hmm.
First impression is very good.
Oh, okay. Well, I for one would like to see that video at some point, even if it's after Tour de France time. I think you should do it.
Yeah, totally.
Next, aero bikes just got even weirder.
Yay!
So Factor and Cervelo both debuted their new uber streamlined bikes at Criterium de Dauphiné. It's common to see glimpses of new tech at this race because for a lot of riders, it's a prep race for the men's Tour de France. So teams will test new stuff out and acclimatise here before the main event. So the Factor looks incredibly dramatic. The fork is hench. It probably would have clearance for, 100 mil tyres if you wanted to. Of course, that isn't the intended use of it. It's all about the aero gains. If you're listening and you want a point of reference for this, think about the Team GB Lotus track bikes with those big arches over the wheels. The fork is basically like that. The handlebars look like they've been nicked straight off the Colnago Y1 RS. And if you remember, Colnago describes that as their bird wing or gull wing design. The head tube is fat with a PH.
Fat head tubes is the thing, isn't it?
It kind of looks like an elf's.
Yes,
Balaf.
From the handlebar straight down the top tube, it's just like one, it's just a line, isn't it?
Quite a few brands have done that in more recent years, though. Mm-hmm. I think it seems like the two really significant big aero changes that we are going through currently is big bulbous gull-wing handlebars, which I think technically Cervelo were one of the first to do with their old version, and this almost loaned from the Cannondale Topstone gravel bike in the smaller sizes, which is almost like the frame has been extended with carbon and then the fork attaches to it.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that, I have one of those, and I think the reason for that is better clearance to overlap.
And geometry for the smaller sizes, which is obviously not what they're caring about here.
So yeah, the other one is the Cervelo, which appears just to be an updated version of their S5. There's not any dramatic changes other than they have this V-shaped handlebar system, which did attach with 2 bolts, and now it's one piece. So I would say probably less adjustable, but marginally more aero, I would assume.
Wow, do you know what? One of the other reasons that things like this are now possible is because everything is moving over to electric only. Because there's no way you're putting cables through those handlebars, is there?
Oh, what, when you're squeezing in hydro hoses and then
because
wires
it is
as
still
well.
getting. Of course, it's still got brake hose. It's still going through. We haven't got electric brakes yet, have we?
Yeah, but we tried to. I remember me and Nick shouting at a bike when we tried to fit a Scott with a fully mechanical and cabled disc group set, and it's just like loads of wires sticking in. Like it looks like horrible, absolutely horrible. And then there's no space, and it really does affect the steering and everything. The headset doesn't go around.
That is probably the consideration with cables and very modern bikes. Going back to the idea of, well, if you don't do your own mechanics, who cares? But that is the scenario where it does make a difference is if you have a super modern bike with super integrated one-piece handlebars, is if the routing of those cables is hideous, then you turn the handlebars and they just stick.
Yeah. But I would say these bikes, they're not normal people bikes, really. I know there will be people who do buy them, but it's not a mass market thing. It's a...
I dare you to go to Regent's Park or Richmond Park in 6 months' time and see what you see.
What, you think you'll see them there?
Oh, there'll be loads.
It's like the circus. When all the weird things come to town.
Yeah, yeah.
That factor will be extremely, extremely fast. Because science says that ugliness and aerodynamics correlate.
Yes.
So the more ugly a bike gets, the faster it is. And that is top. And I'm not saying ugly in a bad way. Like, ugly can be good.
Well, yeah, you believe that aero bike should be as ugly as possible.
Well, because you want it to be as fast as possible.
Yeah. Do you think it could be uglier in some way?
Yeah, no, we haven't reached peak ugly. Yeah, the UCI still stop it at a certain point. So they've relaxed their rules, but not enough.
Right.
They need to just let it happen.
Blow it out the water.
Yeah.
I have seen that the current situation with the relaxing of the rules and everything that's happening with aero is being described as the aero bike arms race. Everyone's racing to create the ugliest, fastest bike.
Well, have they relaxed rules on helmets? Because there's been a few TT helmets in road events.
Yeah, I'm not
Definitely
sure.
in the UK, like people in Nat B's and stuff. But they're not UCI, are they? Yes, they are, because they're British Cycling. Or is that different? I don't know what the governing bodies, if they have the same rules.
Listen, that feels like it's outside my remit. I'm sure people in the comments will know. I can do a Google now if you want, or we can just say, let's move on.
Let's move on. That's enough aero for one day.
Yeah, fair.
Well, speaking of the Dauphiné, it's actually a really, really, really good one this year. And based on what has happened over previous years, is a really good indication of what may or may not happen in the Tour de France. So we have Pogacar, Vingegaard, Remco, all in the Dauphiné.
And Van der Poel.
Well, yeah, but he's not a GC rider.
Yeah, but it's fun that he's
He's
there.
fun to watch, yes. He's fun to watch, but he's not like a GC boy. So we essentially have the three people that are going to attempt to win the Tour de France racing for a week and a bit, or maybe it is a week, a couple of months before the Tour de France, or a month and a bit before the Tour de France. So it's a really good... well, they're all going to kind of like sound each other out and see what's going on. So yeah, if you're new to watching pro cycling, you're going to be following our Tour de France show. It's a really good entry point to learn some names, see the dynamics between the teams, and you'll learn a lot going into the Tour de France. So yeah, if you do like pro cycling but you're new to it, you should follow the Dauphiné. And
maybe I'll watch it because I'm out of touch.
That was a bit of an exclusive from you, Jimmy, because we haven't officially said that we're redoing our Tour de France show, but we are, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yeah, so the Tour de France show is going to run for the whole of the Tour de France and the Tour de France fam.
Yep.
Which is the something of July until the something of August.
Yep.
We're essentially going to be making 28 videos in 31 days, I think it is.
Oh.
And it's going to be absolutely savage. Can I give like a world exclusive now as well, like a proper world exclusive?
Depends what it is.
World exclusive.
We have managed to secure video rights.
Oh, we have.
For our Tour de France show. So our video version of the Tour de France show is actually going to have officially licensed video footage of the stage of that day.
Nice. And it was really expensive. So if you could watch it, it would probably help us out.
Yeah, it would a lot.
The most expensive thing we have collectively ever paid for.
Yes, it is. And do you know what I love about this is we don't want to be putting up paywalls. We don't want to be charging people for content. And we know at some point in the future, Tour de France coverage, especially in the UK, is not going to be free. And actually what we are trying to build is content that is free for people, which is going to be covered on a bike race that they want to watch that they're not going to be able to get for free. So hopefully this year does really, 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 really well. We can do it again next year with even more footage, and then there will actually be free to coverage footage for UK audience.
Free to air. Yeah, my only caveat to that would be that I think that the ASO will know that free to air coverage is ending in this country next year, and therefore we might have to pay even more. So caveat that, we'll have to see how it goes. But
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, hopefully it does well, and we can continue. It was a very exciting time last year, and it was also an absolute slog.
Yeah, it's very
And I
hard.
hope that we don't end up ill like we did last year, because that made it even more challenging. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm positive mental attitude.
Well, it's easy. We just don't invite Chris Hall to our house, so he won't bring us COVID.
He did bring the lurgy, didn't he? As we're on the subject of pro cycling, I also want to pay homage. I also want to pay homage to the Women's Tour of Britain, which finished on Sunday.
Class.
That was also a fantastic race to watch. Ali Wollaston of FDJ Suez came first in the GC. Absolute tactical masterclass from her on the final crit stage, which was in Glasgow. She basically hoovered up all of the intermediate sprint bonus seconds and then managed to leapfrog Kat Ferguson into first place. Kat Ferguson, though, second in the GC, best young rider. She is 19 years old.
Do you see her at the podium? When they were like, no, they all got like a little glass of champagne, and the other riders are like, little sip, and then it cut to Kat Ferguson. She's like,
Downs it. Yeah, always goes down well. She was also back and forth on that podium load, switching out jerseys, because she won a couple, didn't she?
Yeah, she is properly mint. She is the tip for the future, and I don't mean for British cycling. I mean for world cycling. In 5 years' time, when some of the older professional riders start to retire, she is going to be winning everything.
Yeah. I am going to give props where props are due to British cycling for saving that race.
Yes, fine.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, British cycling.
Thank you, British cycling, for saving that race. Well done. And props to BBC for putting it on the iPlayer.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also highlights on British Cycling's YouTube if you do want to catch up on it. The women's Volta a Catalunya also finished on Sunday, the final stage of which has provided us with our UCI Fine of the Week.
UCI, Fine of the Week.
Nice. Thank you, Jimmy.
oh, that was better than expected.
It was all right, wasn't it? UCI Fine of the Week goes to Demi Vollering. She was fined and relegated from 6th place to 58th place on that stage for, drum roll please, celebrating. So
I know what this is going to be.
Oh, she was celebrating for her teammate.
she was,
Okay.
yeah. So her teammate won the sprint. Demi was behind her and hadn't yet crossed the line, put her arms up in the air. And in doing so, she violated a brand new UCI rule that bans riders from endangering their competitors by celebrating or deliberately slowing down during sprint finishes.
We have definitely talked about this before, and it sounds bonkers, but it is a good rule.
It is, yes, it is.
Well, so you can't get the photo where you got your
Correct.
winning rider and you've both got your arms in the air.
You can get the photo, but it'll cost you 10,000 Swiss francs or whatever.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Worth
It's like
it,
230 normally, isn't it? But I think this came about from lead-out riders peeling off, celebrating whilst there's still a pack coming through. And when they peel off and they just kind of get in the way.
Well, you ease up on the pedals a tiny bit and just go
Yeah.
right back through, don't you?
So it's to stop people from basically stopping pedaling in the latter stage, the latter, 20, 30, 40, 50 meters of a race.
The fine was 100 Swiss francs, not 10,000. So actually maybe worth it.
Way
For the
worth it.
pictures. No, Demi said she joked that it made a great finish before saying, no, seriously, I won't do it again. At least I'll try. It's a hard rule to get used to. But I understand the importance of these rules for safety. So
Also, well done, Demi. I think isn't she like 4 for 4 this year? Tour de Femme winner, without a doubt.
very early to be saying that, Jimmy.
And by miles. Absolutely miles.
So next on my pre-production document, it says fluff up of the week, but obviously we have already had one.
We've had one, yeah. So.
Yeah, sorry.
However, I still think this fits because actually what I was going to say is that we saved a fellow cyclist from their own fluff up of the week, didn't we?
We did, didn't we? Yeah.
Do you want to explain what happened, Jimmy?
Myself and Emily were doing a ride on Sunday near our house, and we saw someone pulled over on the side of the road, seeming like they were struggling, and we swung around, said hello, you all right, do you need a hand? And her tyre had punctured. She had plugged it was set up tubeless. She had plugged it, but couldn't get the plug to stick. So I helped to get the plug in, but instantly, I know Francis knows about this because whenever there's a low pressure tubeless setup, he goes, make sure it doesn't seat, make sure it doesn't unseat. And her rim and tyre.
I put my finger on the hole.
So it doesn't even allow it to...
Don't let too much air go out.
So the rim and the tyre that she had been sold were clearly not compatible because the tyre was so loose, deflated, that it would have been impossible to re-inflate that tyre without a blast pump. But to be honest, it was so bad, I'm amazed it even inflated in the first place. So ultimately, she got sold some Duff tubeless, and it's happened to her previously. She's made changes. She's gone to a local bike shop, which is a very, very big, well-respected bike shop, and it's a bit of a disappointment that they've clearly not made enough effort to set her up, to get her a setup that's actually good.
We were very close to our house, so we drove home, got the car with the bike rack on the back.
Rode home.
Yeah, sorry, rode home, got the
bike rack, picked her up,
drove her home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to talk about because it made me realise why some people, any time we talk about tubeless, people are like, tubeless setups are naff. I don't know why anyone would go tubeless. And if I was this lady, I would also be saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
She has been told to do that because to reduce punctures, and she's getting puncture after puncture and then not being able to sort it out. So it really does come back to the point of compatibility. If the tyres or rims aren't great or aren't compatible, it can cause more harm than good. And it's very difficult to give the advice of, well, just get a good compatible setup, like as a layperson.
What's a good one?
What
Yeah.
exactly?
Yeah.
Exactly. So actually, is tubes the more simplistic option? I don't know. I did see a GCN video this week where Ollie was saying that he's ditching tubeless, at least on some of his stuff, for various reasons. It just made me think, is the great tubeless debate rumbles on.
I think she's been sold, this lady's been sold rubbish tyres.
Yeah.
And I think with the right tyre choice, I think her setup would work really well. And I think, I don't know, it's just frustrating that a bike shop as big and as established as the one that she used have allowed that to go out. It's just frustrating. Sorry?
The bigger it gets, the worse it gets.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that just anecdotal? It's really difficult to say. The problem is that it is so changeable, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a butyl tube.
Tubeless works really well. Tubeless works incredibly well when the tyre and rim combination work together. In all other scenarios, it's junk. And the other place where I have no interest in tubeless is road tyres. Because essentially tubeless needs a relatively low pressure for it to work. Otherwise, the sealant just spews out. And the other thing that's actually quite challenging with a narrower tyre is to put what are they called?
A tubeless worm. Bacon strip.
That's it. To put a worm in through the tyre, pinch it and pull it back out again, there actually needs to be quite a lot of distance between the outer surface of the tyre and the rim. Because otherwise you just get to the rim and start poking the rim.
You go in and then sideways.
Well, yeah,
poke it in.
But it, like, even that, you have to like navigate the rim.
And you need the right size bacons as well.
Yeah.
Some of them come much smaller than others for road use.
Yeah. You need like American style streaky bacon.
Streaky, yeah.
Yeah, I guess what it made me appreciate is that we are in the industry, we're around experts, we are getting to test lots of stuff, and we're able to eliminate without even appreciating it. And then we're able to say, yeah, tubeless is good. Whereas actually tubeless is, I appreciate more now that tubeless is a minefield, and it's a very simplistic statement to be like tubeless is the better option.
Yeah, and entry-level tubeless is really bad. We're actually moving so for CADE bikes going forward, it's like when we're making videos, we're going to stop setting things up tubeless. Some stuff will just arrive. We will just receive tubeless, in which case it's fine. It'll just stay like that. But when we are building a bike for something we are making, like a versus video or something rather, we're going to start tubing stuff just because it's cleaner and it's easier, more efficient for us.
There'll be less jizz all over the studio floor.
That as well, yeah.
Less.
Ew. Before we close out this odd fluff up of the week section, I have something to tell you, Jimmy. This is Jimmy's fluff up of the week. And I never notice it when we're recording, but then when I go to edit the video, you keep saying the email address wrong.
I thought you asked me to do this so we got less submissions.
And it's very subtle, but I think it does make a difference. You keep saying the Wild Ones podcast at CADE Media.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, but the actual email address is Wild Ones podcast. So if you're typing in the Wild Ones podcast, you're not going to reach us.
The funny thing is I can actually make that email address in about 30 seconds.
Well, do it then, because it needs to be a redirect after you keep saying the Wild Ones.
It'll all just come into the same mailbox. It's actually
fine, do it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
And also thank you for my public shaming.
Shame.
Today's episode of the Wild Ones podcast is supported by Garmin.
I've actually been using Garmin bike computers and watches for well over a decade now.
Yeah, me too.
I actually bought my first one in 2012. It was the Forerunner 410, and I was training for my very first triathlon at the time.
And how did that go, Jimmy?
Well, it would have gone great if I hadn't accidentally miscounted my bike laps and got myself DQ'd for doing one short.
Rookie error. You should have used the laps function.
I know. But my point is, Garmin's have been part of our lives for a long time now. So it was a bit of a full circle moment when they came on board to support the channel.
And they don't just make watches and head units with bike-specific GPS mapping and performance monitoring.
Nope. They also make power meters, heart rate monitors, smart bike lights that capture video and alert you when cars are approaching, tax indoor trainers, and so much more.
So thank you to Garmin for supporting this podcast.
Time for some unpopular opinions. We're going to read out some cycling hot takes, debate them, and decide if we agree or disagree. Alison says, unpopular opinion, cyclocross bikes are the perfect one bike to do it all. Good tyre clearance for 95% of conditions, responsive geometry, normal reach numbers, usually cheaper than road or gravel bikes with the same components, and usually lighter than most gravel bikes despite being capable on dirt. Swap out the wheels, and you can go from long training miles to racing to commuting, plus they're generally made to be shouldered, so they're easy to carry upstairs if you live in an apartment or flat, and you need to take it on public transport. My Cube Cross Race is my everything but mountain bike.
What is very clear is that Alison is a very experienced cyclist and has a very good understanding of the difference between the two. So I'm going to have to take her opinion very seriously. But she's wrong. Yeah. In many ways, she is right. But I guess a lot of... So how to explain this? A pedigree proper race cyclocross bike is a compromised bike in various ways. However, bikes these days and even cross bikes these days are not what they used to be even 10 years ago. So historically, an actual racing cyclocross bike wouldn't even have mounts for bottle cages. They typically do these days. As correctly pointed out, the cables are usually run over the top of the top tube so that if you have it on your shoulder, the cables don't dig in. Basically, everything's integrated now or wireless, so that doesn't really have an impact anymore either. The biggest issue with the pedigree race bike is the bottom bracket would typically be higher, which means that you are less likely to strike the ground when you're racing, which can make the bike a bit unpleasant to use and a bit less stable. The geometry is typically very much road racing geometry, and often the tyre clearance is built around 33mm tyres, which is what they race cyclocross on, so you can't actually often put big tyres in them. The caveat to all this is the cyclocross bikes they're basically making now address some, if not all, of those issues, but in my opinion, a gravel or an endurance bike is going to be a better solution for most people because it will have more relaxed geometry, which is probably a good thing. The wheelbase will likely be longer, which is always going to be a good thing if you're doing off-road riding. It will still ride really, really good on-road. I love the idea where she's talking about having two wheel sets or at least changing tyres for different conditions because we talk about that a lot of the time. In theory, if the majority of your riding is road, a cyclocross bike will probably be all right for most of your riding.
I have nothing to add.
Very succinct.
Very, very good job,
you.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I guess it also depends what do it all actually means for you, doesn't it? And if you prefer endurance geometry versus something more nimble. it's a very difficult thing to say because these things are subjective. I think the right bike is the one that gets you out riding the most. We always say that, and if it sounds like that is what this is for her.
Yeah, totally.
So for this statement, it sounds like it's exactly true for her, but generally, all road is kind of the category that's kind of filling this now, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And just gravel in general. And like I have a cyclocross bike that is a pedigree racing cyclocross bike, the Cannondale Super X, which I resprayed in green, and I think it makes a really good road bike. I don't think it necessarily makes a really good off-road bike or more like a proper gravel bike. I wouldn't want to go bike packing on it because it feels quite delicate. It feels quite, it's fast, it's agile, it's nimble. It feels racy. It is a great bike and I use it, but like I said, I use it more like a road bike than I do an off-road bike.
But also is that splitting hairs a bit? Also, if you want, she's mentioned value, it's usually cheaper than a gravel or road bike. If you are interested in value, if you want one bike to do it all, are you willing to... You have to make some compromises, surely.
I don't think I agree with usually cheaper than a road or gravel bike.
Okay, I don't know if that's true or not.
I think they're probably going to be comparable in most cases. There's going to be a lot more availability in a gravel bike than there is a cross bike. And typically cross bikes, because they are so race focused, don't have small sizes.
Or lower end models now.
That as well,
The big brands are they've turned all of their, if they're using the same name, which some of them are, like Specialized, the Crux was a cross bike, now it's a gravel bike.
Yeah.
And it's a big tire, big clearance thing. And it's, long wheelbase. It's not a cross bike. A lot of the big brands don't make a cross bike. Or when they do, I think Cannondale still do one, but it's like really high end only. Cube's one is interesting though. I was trying to figure out the tire clearance on there to see if they've actually stuck to 33 mm.
They have.
I think they have.
Have
they?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think you can fit, the internet suggesting you can fit slightly bigger tires, but it's designed around 33.
Officially 33,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a photo of it with the 33, so they only sell it with 33 mil tires, and there's a photo of the front of the fork, and it's like, there's just about, it's right race clearance.
Yeah. Cross racers will love it.
Yes.
I feel sorry for them. People like Tony, he works for Scott, and he has 2 Scott Addict CX bikes, which are the dedicated cyclocross bike. Don't make them anymore. So he's got his 2 that, you switch them in the pits and everything, and get muddy, switch it. He's never ever get rid of them ever. Because in a cyclocross race, he can get power down quicker out of the corners.
Yeah.
The clearance of the pedals is better, and it's a better bike for the race.
Tony being like a multiple winner of cyclocross series in the Northeast and has raced in the nationals and all of it. So he is an actual cycloross
athlete.
Yes.
Specialist.
Very, very
so
good.
he cares about that. Whereas if me and Francis decided to go and do a cyclocross season, we could just I wouldn't hesitate to do it on a gravel bike.
No, not at all. But he's I actually borrowed one of his cross bikes, and it was really fun because it's so nimble.
Yeah.
And just like for the gravel riding, which we do, I'm doing inverted commas there. It's not gravel riding. It's loads of mud and like slippy, sloppy little turns, mountain bike trail, almost mountain bike trail. And it was a great bike for that. It was really fun. And if you want to have fun, choose what is fun.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It just comes down to ride what gets you riding, isn't it? There isn't an answer.
There isn't a one size fits all.
There isn't,
because none of us are the same.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. James says, unpopular opinion, the fashionable white shoes, white socks and white helmet combination isn't cool. I personally think it looks a bit naff. It's totally impractical with our battered British country roads too. Discuss.
But yeah, it's totally impractical, but it is cool. Just like smoking is impractical, but it is cool.
That's quite a good one. I like that.
I wouldn't do. I try to wear a white helmet occasionally, and I look like a mushroom.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just choosing the wrong ones. It's not for me. You know Nick, who sits in this seat sometimes, bike shop mechanic Nick.
Yep.
He's got the biggest head I've ever seen in the world. I thought he wears a size small helmet.
Does he?
How does that fit there? So I ended up riding home without a helmet the other day, off road. Arguably worse. uphill very slowly. It's fine. I survived. And he was like, "Oh, I'll lend you a helmet. Because I was in the bike shop. Every helmet he brought out, I'm like, nope, it just sat like that. So I have to wear a medium.
Yeah, I do.
And I'm a small guy. So it looks like a massive mushroom. Whereas the black helmet looks great. White shoes and socks though. Box fresh. Every pair, every time.
Yeah. I see other people with white helmets on and think it looks cool, and then I put it on my head and I'm like, ooh. I think it's because, when you've got dark hair as well, you're not used to seeing like a massive white thing on top of your head.
I think that's what it is. It's just a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently decided there is only one helmet that I like, and it is incredibly expensive. It goes with my thing of I only like carbon. I only like,
Well, you like a carbon helmet?
No, not carbon helmet. The Casque Proton. I bought one a long time ago, and we were actually talking about this the other day. We need to replace those helmets, or just chuck them out because we've had them for about 8 years now.
Way longer than you're meant to have a helmet. Yeah.
Although anyway, that's a different story. I tried some other helmets, and nothing quite fits. It's like Goldilocks finding the correct bed. I think I just really like a Casque Proton, and they are expensive, but I would continue to buy one. I think it's got a perfect ponytail socket. It just fits through perfectly into socket. Yeah.
It also fits sunglasses in it.
Yeah.
Surprising amount of helmets.
For me, it's the perfect helmet, and I know that that's not a very relatable statement to me. It's not very man of the people of me, but sorry.
Let's try a white one.
No, it's a big helmet.
It's a big helmet.
I think the thing that we talk about or are trying to manage with helmets is we personally don't like it when we put a helmet on our own head and it looks like we have a mushroom on our head.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to
But
navigate.
I see other people and it looks really good. It's the same with the glasses. You see the big glasses, I look stupid in these big glasses. You see someone else and they look so cool.
They always look great.
Yeah.
It's because products are all made for people that are 6 foot tall.
Except for bikes.
6'5" tall.
52 centimeter bike is the perfect size of bike. It looks the best. So anything outside, anything bigger or smaller doesn't look as good. That's how it is.
So, first of all, James, I'm hoping that if you're thinking it looks a bit naff, you're talking about on yourself, because no one cares about what you think your opinion is on them. So screw you if you're criticizing people for what they're choosing to wear. Wear whatever the cuss you want.
Yeah, but also it does look cool.
Except on us.
Except on us, yeah.
But white shoes and socks, yeah.
Well, I've actually started wearing white helmet, white glasses, white socks, white shoes on good on summer days.
You wore it in the
I did
for ride out, and it looked great. It looked really good.
And that is actually the first time in my life I've ever done that.
Cool. I've started smoking. Next up, Raf says, unpopular opinion, many cyclists don't actually care about safety as much as we think we do. In reality, we make concessions in favour of comfort and looks. For example, I think anybody planning to sprint should be wearing a full face helmet. People don't wear one because they either don't want to sacrifice comfort or don't want to look like a knob in front of their roadie friends. People want to do what the pros do, which is to ride at lethal speeds and then break their teeth in a crash. Well, how many times have you crashed and broken your teeth in a sprint? I would say most people have not, because cycling is a pretty safe activity.
Yeah, but I guess he's saying if you do come off, then the potential for...
I think actually what we're seeing here is if you ride like a dick, you're going to increase the chances that you crash. Don't ride like a dick, and then you'll be fine with a normal helmet.
So you're saying sprinting is riding like a...
Well, in what scenario does a normal recreational cyclist need to do some like stupid, massive max power sprint?
Even then, it's not going to... I don't think there's that many cases where people end up crashing because of it. Most people crash, they slip on a corner, and they hit the deck.
Can I give you the opposite argument? That kind of sounds like saying, I don't crash that much in my car, so I don't need an airbag. I think the idea is that when you do impact at high speed, the devastation it could cause to yourself would be big. So that's why an airbag exists. That's why a full face helmet would exist.
So I used to work with someone that used to commute by bike, classic commuter bike, hybrid, flat bar, and he used to wear a full face helmet, or like one of those like motocrossy kind of ones. So it didn't have a visor, but it had like a chin, the bit which goes over your chin. your mouth. So I guess that is classed as a full face, isn't it? But not like a lockdown visor at the front. And he used to ride with one of them because for some reason he used to crash all of the time and land on his face.
Oh.
So he basically went through about 3 times in 6 months. He would like get to work and he would just have like grazes down his face. It's like, yeah, I crashed. But he wanted to keep riding bikes, so we got a full face and carried on riding and enjoyed it.
Some people just crash more than others, don't they?
Yeah.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be. Maybe it's like an inner ear imbalance thing or something. I think in some ways, actually, he's probably right, but I think you'd have a hard time convincing everyone to wear a full face helmet. I think if it's your personal safety, you decide. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it bothers me less.
Which is why helmet use should always be a choice.
Sure.
The thing here, which he absolutely is correct on, is that cyclists prioritize looks over the correct thing.
Yeah, it's the same argument as gloves, isn't it?
And in that, I mean buying the uber aggressive aero bike when actually it's going to be less enjoyable to ride than the bike which is more suitable, and buying shoes that are horribly uncomfortable but look good, and tolerating those things instead of buying products that are actually appropriate for them and enjoyable. And some of the issue with that comes from cycling stuff is really expensive, and you only really learn this stuff in hindsight. So it's not like you can go and buy 10 pairs of cycling shoes, use them, because you actually need to ride a pair of cycling shoes to know if it's any good. You can't just put it on your foot and then go, actually, that's the one I like. So all of the others can just be a loss. No one can afford to do that. And the same thing with helmets, and those kind of products, and just bikes in general. I can't buy 15 £5,000 bikes and then pick the one I want to keep riding and just discard the others. So I think people are led by, well, at least I want to look good, but they end up in a compromised product.
Yeah, I think as hard as it is to admit, I think Raf is probably right on some level. But
definitely.
But I'm not going to go out and buy a full face helmet.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's as dangerous as people think. Same, it's like you're going to go out and wear gloves when you walk down the street because you might slip over when it's icy. Well, then you'd have cold hands, so you would be wearing gloves.
Probably would be wearing
Bad example.
Gloves. Yeah.
But it's just
you might put spikes on your shoes, for example. You change to winter tires in the winter. I think there's a thing about mitigating risk, and I think just because there's a difference between, is this going to happen every time I ride? No, but when I do fall, how likely am I to seriously injure myself? Is a different question, I guess.
When you fall?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just ride bikes a lot, and it's very rare. Like, I haven't had a serious crash.
Yeah.
Since racing.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the same about driving a car as well, though. I haven't crashed a car. Does that mean I wouldn't want an airbag in my car?
Very unlikely.
I would still like an airbag in my car.
I do have a bit of a phobia of airbags, though.
Do you?
Yeah, because I just kind of assume it's going to break my nose if I ever needed it.
Oh, there's one in the back of Benny's car.
Is there?
It says, like, next to your head, it just says airbag.
Nose breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that might be a better alternative to what the alternative would be if there wasn't one there.
Preferably we never know.
Yeah, all touch wood.
Going much faster in a car.
Jimmy, this is your time, your redemption time.
Okay. Do you want to hear an unpopular opinion? Well, we want to hear it. Send yours to the Wild Ones podcast at cademedia.co.uk. You might feature on a future episode.
Kind of correct, but you've done it now. You just...
He's trolling.
Jimmy's face is the troll face.
Troll face, yeah.
Do you have an unpopular opinion? We want to hear it. Send yours to Wild Ones podcast at cademedia.co.uk and you might feature on a future episode.
Fine.
First time.
And don't forget, you can send us your questions and comments for Listeners Takeover, like this one from Joe in the USA, who says, "Hi Francis, Jimmy, Emily, and welcome to Benny. I've been watching your podcast for well over a year and always look forward to a new episode. Thank you very much. Over the past couple of years, I've accumulated a collection of kit and base layers for all seasons, and I have no idea how to store and organise them. How do you store your kits? Do you organise your kits by brand? Is it okay to mix brands when cycling, or is it a no-no in the cycling world? P.S. I want to add your new kit to my collection."
There's a lot of things to answer here, isn't there?
Should we start off with a question lots of people have been asking, which is, are we going to sell our CADE kit?
We are not going to sell the CADE kit. The CADE kit is, think of it as like a uniform. So if you ever see the blue CADE kit, as it currently is, that means that it is a member of CADE staff, whether that's in the real world or whether that's on video. It's CADE only. However, we probably will do a version of it at some point in the future. Probably, I reckon, like next spring, maybe Q1 next year, and we'll kind of do some a version which people can get behind if they want to. But it was never designed. It was never built with the intention of selling it or people want or making money off it. It was always just designed for us to be able to be like a unit, so that when we're making videos, it's very clear, it's us.
Zero decision making, leaving in the morning to go and film.
That as well. But it is amazing, and it is lovely to see how many people love it and would want to wear something that says our brand on it, which is kind of a bit wild.
We never talked about the fact we used a local designer, Mark, who's also our friend, who runs a printing company.
Not Mark Brimacombe, who
different Mark. Everyone's called Mark.
It's double marks today. Isn't
double
it?
marks. We basically went to him like, okay, we want Bella on it. We want a capybara. We want geniosity. We want. He's like, you can imagine. You think, what are all of these things?
No. He actually loved it. So when I had the conversation, he was like, "Oh, so glad you've got stuff. You know what things you want illustrated."
Yeah.
He actually loved that we gave him a list of like 15 piles of gibberish. He was like, "This is so easy for me."
Yeah, Mark Ross. He runs Ink and Drop,
yeah,
which is a company that'll do you nice prints for your house. Not sponsored.
Yeah,
but
he hasn't
nice,
asked for that.
Yeah, nice guy.
Do you know,
nice guy, good artist.
When he did the design, I was like, "Do you want us to like give Ink and Drop a shout out?" He was like, "Nah, it's all right." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Okay, fine. Well,
he's got one, and he won't care.
Okay, on to the question proper.
Oh, I think we should then address, is it okay to mix brands when cycling? Yes. Do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah. We are sponsored by Atticus, so we do not do that. However, you can do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've only got one brand of kit.
Same.
I've been with you guys for so long, or what was you guys, but when you did own it. I've got no old. I kept my Kingston Wheelers. I've kept a skin suit from every race team.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So I've got a Pedal Heaven skin suit, Kingston Wheelers skin suit, VO2 skin suit, 8-bar skin suit. That's the end.
You got Jam one?
And the Atticus old ones.
You got Jam one?
Jam BM BPC.
Next part was how do you store it?
So I like hanging things, and I haven't had a big enough wardrobe to hang all of my cycling kit. But I literally just built one like a couple of days ago, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to putting every piece of cycling kit I own on a hanger, because I just love being able to use hangers and go
individual.
Yes.
I feel like that's so much room for cycling kit. I would not allow it. You used to put jerseys on top of each other on the same hook, didn't you? But you're now going to give them individual hangers.
Well, no, I used to have, so that would be the ones that I knew I wouldn't wear that often. That was when we did own Atticus, and we had a bazillion jerseys.
This is it. Also, yeah, we are not normal people in the sense that because of the line of work we do, we have a shit ton of kit.
Mine was overflowing, and you were like, "You should see us."
We legit have kit for life, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But as long as my weight doesn't change too much.
No, they're surprisingly stretchy. Because there was one time I had a stupid video idea, and I was like, I want to be a giant. I want to see how many jerseys I can wear. So, and the thumbnail in my head was like a giant jersey man, like a huge, like hundreds of jerseys. So I put on as many jerseys as I possibly could, and you do get really big. And it's great.
I remember
But then it
this.
starts to, and then you, because they're all the same size, they're all small or extra smalls, they actually start squeezing you. And then like the veins in my neck were going in my hands, and I was like, I'm going to die by jersey squashification. And I panicked, and then I was unzipping them as fast as I could. It was like, pew, pew, pew. And we never made that video, but you'd have to go up in, so you guys could probably help me, or maybe Dan will.
We had that conversation because it was when we did own Atticus.
Yeah.
And the plan was, you were doing like testing it, and we were going to go up in sizes.
Yeah.
What was it going to be for every mile?
Don't give away our video idea, Emily. Someone else could die trying this.
Oh yeah, it was that, wasn't it?
1 mile equals one more jersey.
Yeah. It's like when you put elastic bands around a
melon
to squish it. That was what was happening to you.
Or a crankset.
Elastic bands around a crankset.
Yeah,
Why are you doing that?
if you've got a stuck crankset, then you can, and you put your Allen key in. So you got like an Allen key and the crank, and you need to squeeze them together to undo it. you'd wrap an inner tube
inner
around
tube.
it.
Not elastic bands.
Well, that's basically, it's the same thing.
You could do the same thing.
It's a giant elastic band.
It would just take an hour rather than 2 minutes.
And then eventually it just goes, gunk. And I'm doing a lot of sound effects today. More than usual.
It works. We're an audio first platform.
Very true.
Emily's going to go through it and replace all of your sound effects with actual sound effects.
So that's how good I am.
I store my kit.
You're a folder, aren't you?
Yeah, so I recently, because of the amount of kit that we have, which I appreciate is a unique issue to us, I rotate my kit based on the season. So deep winter kit gets put in a storage box, gets put somewhere else. And I have my summer stuff currently out, and I use the Marie Kondo folding method. She was, I think she's maybe a Japanese lady. She had a series on Netflix about organization of your house and stuff. And she has a very specific folding method, which rather than putting stuff on top of each other, because you can never see the thing at the bottom, you sort of fold them in a way that you can see them sideways, so you can easily pick stuff out, not disturb other things. It works.
It
really
is
well.
very good.
Google it.
Sad.
It's not sad.
It's very good. It's more effort than going. Hang on. Well, actually, I don't even zip them up.
No,
hang on.
you're not a zip. You're not a zipper.
Yeah.
It takes up less space as well, though. Hangers is too much space. I got too many other clothes. What do you do?
Hangers.
Hangers.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
It does take up a lot of space. You need to have the
so
space.
much space. Yeah.
I literally like I said, I built a whole new wardrobe just for cycling kit.
God, we really are.
That is a gross exaggeration.
We're really becoming not men of the
Not
people
normal.
anymore. Yeah, not normal people.
Not normal, like Lance Armstrong. How many jerseys he got?
Oh, well, contentious.
Well,
he would say he has 7 yellow ones.
Yeah,
Other people would not
They
say
took them
that.
all away, didn't they?
Yeah.
He's got none left.
No, he still got them. He did that photo where he's like,
Right, I guess we should wrap this up and carry on moving the studio.
we should fold it up
Yeah,
with the Marie Kondo method. Kondo.
Well, thank you to this studio. It's been fantastic. It's been echoey as hell in here today, I think, and there was definitely someone banging on the wall earlier. And I'm really looking forward to not having those issues. But I'm sure we'll find other issues. Knowing us, we'll be walking into some other sort of trap. But that's for next week.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we manage to get enough done, then it's for next week.
Okay.
Otherwise, we might be back here next week, but with even less stuff.
Okay.
Like no carpets, no chairs.
Still no batteries.
Still no batteries. We might have to just huddle around a microphone in the middle with a little fire. Well, I guess that's all for this week then.
It is, yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.